Pretty much. This is right off the email here, because I didn't have this memorized yet, but Ole and Sven were snowmobiling. Had a bad accident, killed them both. Both of them drunker than skunks. Drunker than skunks. Went straight to hell. They get down to hell, and of course the devil's talking to them. And he says, it looked like they were really enjoying themselves. So he says to him, he says, doesn't the heat and smoke bother you boys? And Ole says to himself, he says, well, you know, he says, we're from northern Minnesota and the land of ice and snow and so forth, and we're just happy to have the chance to warm up a little bit, you know. And so the devil decides that the two aren't miserable enough, so he turns the heat up even more. When he returns to the room, two guys from Minnesota, the devil finds them in light jackets and hats, and they're grilling walleye and drinking beer. So the devil, astonished, exclaims, listen, everybody down here else is in abject misery. He said, but you two guys seem to be enjoying yourself. What's the big deal here? And Sven says, well, you know, it's just we got don't get too much warm weather up here. And so consequently, he says, we have to have a fish fry when the weather's this nice. So the devil is absolutely furious. He can hardly see that night. He finally comes up with an answer. He says, the two guys that love heat because they've been cold all their lives. So the devil decides to turn off all the heat in hell. The next morning, the temperature is 60 degrees below zero. Icicles hanging everywhere, and the people are shivering so bad that they're unable to wail and moan, even gnash their teeth. So the devil smiles and he heads to the room where Ole and Sven are. He gets there and he finds that they're back in their parkas, bomber hats, and mittens. They're jumping up and down and cheering and yelling and screaming like madmen. And the devil is dumbfounded. He says, I don't understand. He said, I turned up the heat and you guys are happy. He says, now it's freezing cold and you're still happy. He said, what's wrong with you two? They both looked at each other and back to the devil, and Ole says, well, don't you know, he said, if hell is froze over, that must mean that the Vikings won the Super Bowl.
Just stay up here, okay? You know, this year we came so close, right? So close. All right, who's our next, Carlos?
Carlos Stinson there from Owatonna. So, anyway, you know, Ole and Sven, you know, they always wanted to play football for the Minnesota Volkers. Volkers? How about the Gophers? You know, can't read. And the coach there, he said, you know, boys, you're kind of old to be playing football, but if you answer these 3 questions right, I'll probably think about letting you play. So they said, okay, can we work together on the questions? Yeah, because these are pretty tough questions, and I know you boys are going to have to work hard. So he says, well, okay, coach, what's the first question? He goes, well, boys, you got to name the 2 days of the week that start with T. So they huddle up. They come back. Well, actually, coach, there's 4 days that start with T. 4? How do you figure that? Well, there's Tuesday and Thursday, but also today and tomorrow. So he goes, oh, okay. Now, what's the second question? Well, I want you to figure out how many seconds there are in a year. And Ole goes, geez, coach, what's so tough about that one? He goes, how'd you know that so quick? He goes, well, that's easy. There's 12. Where'd you come up with 12? Well, there's January 2nd, February 2nd. You boys are going to drive me nuts here, you know. I got one more tough question here, you know. Okay, we all live in Minnesota, you know, and it gets winter time up here and we get Santa Claus coming. So I want you to figure out how many D's there are in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. So they huddle up and come back. 126. 126? Where'd you come up with that? Coach!
Carlos from Owatonna. Who's next, Don?
Yeah, I'm Don Shearhart. I'm from Cold Spring. I lived in about 6 different towns in Minnesota, but anyway, this is about Ole. He had a job that he drove grain from Minnesota to North Dakota. And one day, Lena says, Ole, I'd like to ride along with you to North Dakota. Ole says, no, Lena, you don't want to go to North Dakota. It's such a long, boring trip. Oh yeah, Ole, I want to go with. So Ole says, okay, you can go with today. So driving along, and pretty soon Lena says, Ole, you know, you're right. This is a boring trip. She says, maybe we should do something to have a little fun. Ole says, well, what would you like to do? And she says, I think I would like to make love. And Ole says, well, Lena, this grain truck isn't very big to make love. And she says, well, maybe we could pull over to the side of the road and we could get under the truck. And Ole says, well, you know, you might have something there. We could pretend like we're fixing the clutch. So they're under the truck, and pretty soon the highway patrolman comes up and he stops and he leans down and he says, Mister, what are you doing? And Ole says, well, we're fixing the clutch. And the highway patrolman says, well, you should fix the brake. Your truck is 100 feet down the road.
Next up is Gail. Gail from Meadowlands. Go ahead.
Well, I'm going to divert a little bit from the
thank goodness.
Ole and Lena jokes. But I do have the 10 Commandments Minnesota style. Number 1, there's only one God, you know. Second commandment, don't make that fish on your mantle an idol. Number 3, cursing ain't Minnesota nice. Number 4, go to church even when you're up north. 5, honor your folks. 6, don't kill, catch and release. Number 7, there's only one Lena for every Ole. No cheating. Number 8, if it ain't your lutefisk, don't take it.
Have a problem there.
Number 9, don't be bragging about how much snow you've been shoveling. And number 10, keep your mind off your neighbor's hot dish.
Last one's Joe.
Yeah, I'm a University of Minnesota graduate. But actually, I was born in Newport, Arkansas. And it's a long way from Arkansas to Minnesota. But this is a story about a guy who tells all these Ole and Lena jokes over and over and over and over. And finally, he's driving his friends nuts. So they go to him and says, you gotta stop doing that. He says, one thing, ethnic jokes are out. You irritate the Swedes, the Danes, you irritate everybody. He said, what do I do? He says, well, try something else. He says, try the Hittites. Hittites have been gone for thousands of years. You can't irritate the Hittites. Here's Hittites. He says, okay, here's the story. There were these 2 Hittites. Their names were Ole and Lena.
All right, let's have our 5 contestants just kind of line up here. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to applaud. And then your applause is going to, by Emery's and my ear, will determine who the winner is for the Ole and Lena Joketelling contest here. So, Emery,
okay,
dig whatever it was out of your ear and
okay.
Get ready to listen.
I can't stand it. Okay, who was first? Craig was
Craig
first.
was first.
Right?
Craig Nelson.
Okay, and the joke, what was the joke again?
The joke was the hell freezing over.
Okay, applause for Craig. Now the first one. Okay.
The next one was Carlos.
Carlos over here from Owatonna. The Gophers.
The Gophers. Next one
Number 3 was done.
It was done, yep.
And that was the
fixing the
you
clutch.
better fix the brakes too.
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Pretty good.
Close.
Then we had Gail with the 10 Commandments, Minnesota style. Okay, and then last but not least was Joe. And that was the,
Ole and Lena, the Hittites.
yeah, the Hittites. Okay,
It was close.
it was close. I think our
I think
winner's
it's-
over here,
I think it's
Carlos.
Carlos. Yeah.
And he wins Songs for Minnesota and Ann Reed CD, the courtesy of Ann and Blair. There you go.
Very good. Thanks, everybody.